Since ancient times, across countless traditions, the humble clove has carried profound spiritual significance far beyond its common use as a cooking spice. This small, dried flower bud contains energy patterns that resonate with the highest vibrational frequencies of protection and purification. In the spiritual realms, cloves have long been recognized as powerful shields against negative energies, obsessive spirits, and the dense vibrations of envy and ill will. The ancient Egyptians were among the first to document the protective properties of cloves, burning them in sacred ceremonies to cleanse temples and create an invisible barrier against lower astral influences. This practice wasn't merely superstition, but a recognition of how certain plant essences interact with the subtle energy fields that surround us. When we examine the electromagnetic properties of clove oil, we discover it creates a frequency that disrupts and disperses lower vibrational patterns, the very same patterns that manifest as spiritual attachments and psychic intrusions. Indigenous healers throughout Asia and South America independently discovered this protective quality, incorporating cloves into protective amulets and spiritual cleansing rituals. They understood that certain plants serve as bridges between dimensions, and cloves in particular were revered for their ability to strengthen the auric field, our personal energy shield. By carrying cloves or using their essence in your living space, you establish a boundary that lower energies cannot easily penetrate. The protective power of cloves extends beyond merely warding off negative influences. They actively strengthen your spiritual immune system, making you more resilient to psychic attacks and emotional vampirism. In many traditional healing systems, practitioners would recommend wearing small pouches containing cloves during times of spiritual vulnerability or when entering environments with potentially harmful energies. Cayce once mentioned that natural substances contain vibrational patterns that can either harmonize with or disrupt our own energy fields. Cloves, in particular, resonate with the protective aspects of our subtle anatomy, reinforcing the energetic boundaries that separate our consciousness from unwanted influences. This reinforcement doesn't come through belief alone, but through the actual interaction between the plant's compounds and our electromagnetic field. What makes cloves especially powerful as spiritual protectors is their dual action. They simultaneously repel lower energies while attracting higher vibrational assistance. This is why many spiritual traditions use cloves in rituals intended to invoke guardian spirits or angelic presences. The unique vibrational signature of cloves serves as a beacon to beneficial spiritual forces while creating an environment inhospitable to entities that would drain or disrupt our energy. Modern energy healers have rediscovered these ancient truths, finding that clove essential oil, when properly used, can help clear long-standing negative attachments and restore energetic boundaries that have been compromised through trauma or spiritual neglect. The oil's high vibration helps to seal tears in the auric field through which unwanted energies might otherwise enter. To employ cloves as spiritual protectors in your own life, consider these traditional applications. Place whole cloves in the corners of rooms to establish energetic boundaries. Carry 7 cloves in a small natural cloth pouch during challenging interactions. Burn clove incense during meditation to strengthen your spiritual connection while maintaining protection. Or add a drop of clove essential oil to protective visualization practices. Remember that spiritual protection isn't about fear, but about maintaining the integrity of your energy field so you can more fully express your highest potential. Cloves offer a simple yet profound way to honor this boundary, allowing you to engage with the world from a place of strength and clarity rather than vulnerability and confusion. The ancients understood something we're only beginning to rediscover, that certain plants carry specific spiritual signatures that interact with our own energy in meaningful ways. Cloves stand as silent guardians, ready to assist in maintaining the sacred boundary between your spirit and the myriad influences that might otherwise disturb your inner peace and spiritual growth. The most profound spiritual tools often appear in the most ordinary places, and cloves perfectly exemplify this principle. While most know them only as a spice or occasional home remedy, their true significance lies in their remarkable ability to serve as conduits between the physical and spiritual realms. This bridge-like quality of cloves has been recognized across diverse spiritual traditions for millennia, though this knowledge has largely been forgotten in our modern materialistic world. The unique molecular structure of cloves contains compounds that simultaneously affect both physical matter and subtle energy. Eugenol, the primary active component in cloves, exhibits properties that operate across different planes of existence. On the physical level, it works as an antiseptic and analgesic, but on the subtle level, it facilitates the movement of consciousness between different states of awareness. This dual nature makes cloves particularly valuable for spiritual practices that seek to integrate body, mind, and spirit. Ancient wisdom traditions understood that certain substances serve as keys that unlock doorways between dimensions, and cloves were considered among the most powerful of these keys. When used with conscious intention, cloves help dissolve the artificial boundaries between the material and immaterial aspects of our being. This is why cloves have featured prominently in meditation practices designed to achieve heightened states of awareness while remaining grounded in physical reality. The bridge-like function of cloves manifests most powerfully through their aroma. The essential oil contains vibrational patterns that resonate with both the crown chakra, our connection to higher consciousness, and the root chakra, our connection to physical existence. This simultaneous activation creates a channel through which spiritual insights can flow into practical application. By inhaling the scent of cloves during contemplative practices, you establish an energetic pathway for divine wisdom to enter your everyday awareness. Many spiritual healers have observed that cloves help synchronize the various subtle bodies, etheric, emotional, mental, and causal, that comprise our multidimensional nature. When these bodies fall out of alignment, we experience disconnection from our higher purpose and spiritual resources. The compounds in cloves help restore proper communication between these layers of our being, similar to how a well-designed bridge ensures smooth traffic flow between separate landmasses. This bridging function makes cloves particularly valuable during times of spiritual transition or awakening. When consciousness expands rapidly, the physical body and personality structure can struggle to integrate the heightened energies and insights. Cloves help facilitate this integration process, allowing spiritual revelations to be properly grounded and embodied rather than remaining abstract concepts or temporary experiences. Traditional healers often prescribed clove-based preparations for those experiencing the disorientation that sometimes accompanies spiritual growth. They recognize that proper integration of spiritual experiences requires substances that can operate across multiple planes simultaneously. Cloves provide stability during these expansive states, preventing the fragmentation that can occur when spiritual awareness outpaces physical adaptation. The bridging function of cloves extends to communication between different aspects of consciousness. Many indigenous shamanic traditions use cloves to facilitate dialogue between the conscious mind and the deeper wisdom of the subconscious. By creating an energetic bridge, cloves help bypass the filtering mechanisms of the analytical mind, allowing more direct access to intuitive knowledge and spiritual guidance. In energy healing practices, cloves serve as conductors that help direct healing intention into the physical body. Their unique vibrational signature enhances the practitioner's ability to channel spiritual forces into tangible therapeutic effects. This is why many traditional healing systems incorporate cloves into their treatments, not just for their physical properties, but for their ability to ensure that healing occurs across all levels of being simultaneously. To experience the bridging power of cloves in your spiritual practice, consider brewing a simple tea with 3 cloves in hot water. As you sip this tea mindfully, visualize the connection between your physical experience and spiritual awareness strengthening. Notice how insights from higher consciousness become more accessible, and how these insights naturally translate into practical wisdom for daily living. The bridge that cloves provide isn't about escaping physical reality for spiritual realms, but rather about bringing these seemingly separate aspects of existence into harmonious relationship. True spiritual evolution doesn't reject the material world, but transforms our relationship with it, infusing ordinary experience with sacred awareness. Cloves remind us that the divine doesn't exist separate from daily life, but expresses itself through the very fabric of our physical experience. Throughout the corridors of spiritual history, certain practices remained carefully guarded by those who understood their profound significance. Among these sacred traditions was the ceremonial use of cloves by ancient priesthoods across multiple civilizations. These spiritual leaders recognized that cloves possess properties far beyond mere aromatics. They were powerful conductors of prayer, intention, and divine communication. In the temples of ancient India, Egypt, China, and pre-Columbian America, high priests incorporated cloves into their most sacred rituals, particularly those involving communication with higher realms. The burning of cloves was not merely symbolic, but served a practical spiritual function. The smoke created a purified channel through which prayers and intentions could ascend to celestial domains. The ancient priests understood that certain substances, when properly prepared and ceremonially activated, created vibrational gateways that facilitated communion between human consciousness and divine intelligence. What made cloves particularly valuable in temple ceremonies was their rare combination of purification and amplification properties. The smoke first cleared lower vibrational energies from the sacred space, creating an environment of exceptional purity. Once this purification was complete, the continuing presence of clove essence amplified the collective consciousness of those participating in the ceremony, allowing their prayers to achieve greater coherence and strength. This twofold action made cloves indispensable for rituals intended to manifest significant spiritual or material outcomes. Archaeological evidence from ancient temple sites reveals small burning chambers specifically designed for cloves and similar sacred substances. These chambers were typically positioned at precise geometric points within temple architecture to maximize their energetic impact. The placement wasn't arbitrary but calculated to work with the temple's sacred geometry, creating resonance patterns that extended the reach of prayers beyond physical limitations. When activated during celestial alignments, these clove-burning chambers became powerful transmitters of human intention into the cosmic web of creation. The priests of ancient mystery schools taught initiates that cloves contained an essence not visible to ordinary perception, what they called the fire within the fire. This referred to the plant's ability to store and transmit spiritual light frequencies. When burned with specific intentions, cloves released these stored frequencies, creating a momentary opening between dimensions through which higher wisdom could flow. This is why many prophecies and oracular pronouncements were received during ceremonies involving clove smoke. It enhanced the seer's ability to perceive beyond the veil of ordinary reality. What's particularly fascinating is how this knowledge emerged independently across cultures, separated by vast distances, suggesting that the spiritual properties of cloves represent objective metaphysical realities rather than culturally constructed beliefs. From the temples of Solomon to the pyramid complexes of Teotihuacan, from the oracle at Delphi to the sacred caves of the Himalayas, cloves featured prominently in the most transformative spiritual technologies of the ancient world. The secret teachings around cloves included precise instructions for their preparation and use. Cloves intended for sacred ceremony were harvested at specific times, often during particular lunar phases, then consecrated through prayer and ritual purification before being stored in containers made from specific materials, usually copper, gold, or certain sacred woods, that would preserve and enhance their spiritual properties. The preparation was as important as the substance itself, as it aligned the material with its highest vibrational potential. Modern spiritual seekers have much to learn from these ancient practices. When we approach natural substances like cloves with reverence and understanding of their multidimensional properties, we activate aspects of their nature that remain dormant under ordinary usage. This is not about returning to ancient superstitions, but about recovering sophisticated spiritual technologies that operated through precise understanding of how consciousness interfaces with matter at the energetic level. Perhaps the most closely guarded secret about cloves was their role in initiation ceremonies. Ancient priesthoods used clove-infused preparations to facilitate the carefully guided ego dissolution experiences that were central to spiritual initiation. The compounds in cloves, when properly prepared and administered within sacred context, helped initiates temporarily transcend identification with the limited personal self, allowing them to experience the broader spiritual reality of which they were a part. These experiences weren't merely subjective, but represented genuine expansions of consciousness into normally inaccessible dimensions of reality. Today, we can honor this ancient wisdom by bringing greater consciousness to our use of cloves in spiritual practice. While we may not have access to the complete ceremonial knowledge of ancient temple traditions, we can approach cloves with awareness of their sacred history and multidimensional properties. Something as simple as mindfully burning a few cloves before meditation, prayer, or important life transitions acknowledges their traditional role as carriers of human intention into spiritual realms. The wisdom of the ancient priests reminds us that the boundary between physical and spiritual realities is not fixed but permeable, and certain substances, like cloves, serve as natural bridges between these dimensions. In our modern spiritual practices, we can reclaim this understanding, not as superstition, but as practical metaphysical technology, working with the inherent properties of natural substances to enhance our connection to divine consciousness. As we recover these ancient spiritual technologies, we find that they don't contradict modern understanding, but expand it, pointing toward a more complete science that encompasses both physical and metaphysical dimensions of reality. The ancient priests weren't working with imagination, but with observable metaphysical principles that our materialistic worldview has temporarily forgotten. Cloves stand as humble reminders of this more complete understanding, ordinary objects with extraordinary spiritual potential, waiting to be rediscovered by those with eyes to see and hearts open to ancient wisdom. If this revelation about cloves has opened your eyes to the hidden spiritual powers in everyday items, there's so much more to discover. Subscribe now to continue this journey of ancient wisdom and spiritual enlightenment with us. Drop a comment below, sharing how you plan to incorporate cloves into your spiritual practice, or any experiences you've already had with their remarkable energy. Your insight might be exactly what another seeker needs to hear today. Remember, true wisdom grows when shared. Hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss our upcoming revelations about the spiritual secrets hidden in plain sight all around you.